Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Died and Went Back in Time Part 1. Chapter 1, Issei's Pav. I'm fighting against an opponent that is impossible to defeat. The location where my opponent and I were fighting one another is the White Realm within the boosted gear. Or it was since the White World within the boosted gear is now tainted into a purple darkness. The furniture within the realm is gone, and my past senpais are petrified into statue due to the malicious darkness within boosted gear. I was down on the ground in my crimson scale mail after receiving a brutal beating from my opponent who placed his foot on top of my head. He pressed his foot down on my head, which caused my mask to slowly crack till it snapped into many red tiny shards. Your time as Security is up, my opponent said, putting more pressure on my head. Now I'll take everything that belongs you. Your body. Your powers. Your identity. It all belongs to me now. I slowly rolled my eyes upward to see my opponent, who is a robust man fully dressed clad in pitch black medieval armor and a rustic helmet with a thinly carved slit displaying the ghastly glow of his eyes. Within one of his hands carried a lethal dragon-slaying sword that probably more fatal than the Ascalon and Graham combined. He took his foot off my head and pointed the tip of his dragon-slaying sword right at my bloody forehead. He then raised his sword back up with both of his hands on the handle. Before he finished me off, he asked, "Any last words?" I didn't say a single word to my dark-armored opponent. Instead I mustered all the remaining strength I had to grab onto one of his legs and I tried to crawl back up, however it was futile since I was too badly injured and exhausted to go on. The knight quickly shook me off of his leg by delivering one last kick to knock me down for good. After hitting the ground for the second time, my conscience slowly began to fade. Fade just the last time it happened to me 7 years ago. Geez, that sure brings me back memories. 7 years ago. Blow away. Crimson Blasty ear. I chanted out my final blow to Shalba. Pang Blast Booster. Zubai Ion. Enormous amounts of crimson aura were released from the cannons. Yuhahahaha. Either way you will also die from Samael's curse. Security. Shalba screamed before the red aura enveloped him whole. I, who had defeated Shalba, released Office from the ropes made from demonic power while enduring Samael's curse. Security, why did you help me? Office then asked me. I said it while sighing. You saved Asia and Arena. That was my gratitude towards them, Office claimed. It should not be a reason for Security to help me. Asia and Arena are my important friends, I explained my reason. If you saved them, then a reason for me to save you will also exist. I began to think that you are not a bad guy. Why did you cooperate with them? They promised me that they will defeat Great Red, Office replied. I want to return to the dimensional gap and obtain silence. There's no way that they will keep their promises. Weren't you used by them a lot? Office then shrugged. If I can defeat Great Red, then that's okay. That's why I gave them snakes. Dream. Office's aim. Office continues. I went to Security's house because I thought I could find something that would fulfill my dream. Abnormal growth. I thought the secret behind the true dragon and heavenly dragon lied there. I thought I could find the reason why I exist. I see. I finally got it. This guy is purer than anyone. Old Mag faction and Hero faction used that. They used her for their own deeds. Their ambitions. To control the world or to seek a battle against superior beings. But that is something irrelevant to Office. This guy isn't a last boss at all. It was all an illusional boss that the Cows Brigade created. I'm glad I rescued her. I think this guy is someone who I can talk to, unlike Shalba. I will take her home and speak with her about many things. I thought she was creepy, but she is just a pure dragon who is merely naive. She is strong and infinite. Everyone became scared of her and made her into something people would fear. She was tricked into becoming the leader of the terrorists. The lonely and poor dragon. That is Office. My consciousness is getting worse. Is it because of the curse? Geez, I need to get home quickly. Hey Office. Do you want to become friends with me? I asked as I felt dizzy. Office raised a brow. Friend. What's the benefit if I become that? I could at least become someone you can talk to. I see. That sounds fun. Yeah, it is fun. That's why let's go home. To that house. The building collapsed and the surroundings were being sucked into the hole. The field that is collapsing. Even if I go into the dimensional gap, I will be safe for a while if I wear my armor. I will be alright as long as everyone summons me before that. I got up and walked forward. To return home. The crumbling field. I'm walking in that field, but I don't have the strength to walk anymore. I'm going forward while having Office lend me her shoulder. It's the effect of the curse. It's truly ironic since I'm having Office help me when I came to rescue her. My eyesight is getting blurry. That's weird since I'm not even sleepy. I don't feel the pain from Samael's curse now, it doesn't hurt nor is it painful. Partner? I could vaguely hear Drake's voice. It's almost time. Azazel and the others are probably about to open the dragon gate for us. Then the only thing left for them is to summon us. Drake. I know it, let's go on. Oh yeah, what should I do once I get home? Reflect on what I did wrong for the promotion test with everyone. Oh yeah, we still have the mid-semester test as well. Once I get home, I will first. Hey office, I said. Office cocked her head in confusion when I called her name out of the blue. What do you want to do once you return? I asked, trying to make some small talk to stay awake. Return? I do not have any place to return to. The dimensional gap, I do not have the power to return to it. Then you can return to my place, I told her. The house of security? She asked. Yeah, that's right. If you were able to get along with Asia and Irina, then you can get along with everyone else as well. My legs won't go any further. Huh? My sight goes to the side and then up. Did I fall down? No, I can't even tell that. Office, have you ever fallen in love with someone? I suddenly brought up tiredly. What am I saying? However, I can see that beautiful crimson hair in my mind. Partner, get a hold of yourself. Everyone is waiting for you. Yeah, I know. Asia is a crybaby, so I have to return quickly. Bakeno-san is a very fragile person even if she looks like that, and Kaneko-chan, I'm glad she's getting along with Ravel. Zenobi and Irina, I remember when they were enemies at first. Greg, this person has the curse circulating through his entire body. He's at his limits. I know that, office. I already know that. But he won't die. This man has always kept on standing up. Roswa-san, Gasper, hurry and come home. Azazel-sensei, Kiba Mitsuda, Motohama, my important. Let's go home. Partner. What are you doing? Stand up. You always stood up. Sarah Erg-san, volley, I still want to fight you guys. Ria's the one I love. Ice, come back to me. I'm glad that I confessed to her. I will definitely return to your side. I love you, Rias. I'm glad that I could at least say that. Shame, isn't it? I heard a voice that I didn't recognize. The darkness that I could only see in my eyes now vanished away by the strange light that looks to be static that you see in the television. Just as everything was going so well for you, you died. There was that voice again. Was it all in vain? Has everything you've been through was leading to this particular moment? The moment you died. And no. I can't die yet. There was so much things I wanted to accomplish before I leave this world. I wanted to learn how to use the power of the hacker Yuiku that I stole from Volley during our first fight. I wanted to become the ultimate pawn and become ultimate class devil with Kiba. There are also my promises to fight against Volley and Sarerg in the future. I also want to further my relationship with Rias and the other girls in the occult research club and become harem king. So you want to live? Is that it? Why yeah, I guess I am. Then how about a deal? A deal? The static slowly started to clear up to show an Imagine. The Imagine was a young dark-skinned man dressed in a white tux and top hat. He had beautiful straight silver hair that reached down his shoulders and bright golden eyes. He carried a white cane in his hands, which each were covered by a white glove. The background he was in was a fancy living room with a fireplace and large bookshelf. I'll save your soul from Samael's curse, and in return you must do something for me. Do you have a deal? Sure, if I can see Rias and the others one more time, then I don't mind being in your debt. Good. Now get ready to say hi to. I'm sending your precious soul and memories on a ride of your lifetime. The mysterious man used the bottom part of his cane to tap the ground. Then a purple magic circle appeared beneath his feet. The bright light coming from the magic circle flashed up. Everything around the living room is getting enveloped by the light of the magic circle. Let's meet again, Oppai Dragon. The mysterious man said before he vanished by the light. Chapter 2, Life 01. Reality shift. Beep beep. I heard the loud sound of my alarm clock ringing me to wake up. I made a small groan as I rolled over to hit my alarm clock, however. Bam, I fell out of my bed and went headfirst into wooden floor. Ouch, I said, rubbing my injured face. Beep, beep. I made a sound with my tongue and then shut off by slamming my hand on the buzzer. I let out a sigh of relief after I hit my alarm clock at getting some peace and quiet. I used to own a clock that was too loud that I had to dispose of it. Weird, this alarm clock looks like the one I used to have. Wait a minute. Huh? I said, noticing something peculiar about my room. The bed that I used to sleep in with Rias and Asia is now back to the bed that I used to sleep in before Rias renovated the entire house. The size and color of my room was back the way it was before the renovation. Heck, some of the stuff I did own before the renovation I had before is also gone. Instead, it's been replaced stuff that belongs to a 10-year-old. What happened to my eye stopped talking the moment I saw my reflection on the mirror that I had once when I was a kid. I no longer have the muscular and toned-built body of a 17-year-old. Instead, I have the body of a young, slightly chubby, 10-year-old boy. Ice. It's time for school. The door to my bedroom opened and the one who opened it was my mother. Hey, is it me or does she look younger? Ice, what's wrong? My mom asked, raising a brow in confusion. I am fine. I said, stuttering in between my words. Alright then, get dressed. My younger-looking mother left my room after that. I peeked my head out the hall to see it was the same as before the renovation happened. There weren't another flight of stairs or an elevator. I pulled my head back and closed the door to my room. I sat back down on my bed, trying to think back how in the world did I end up in this predicament. Greg, do you have anything to say? Hey Drake, can you hear me? I'm trying to speak with you. Greg. I looked at my left hand. I extended it out and said. Boosted gear. I suspected that my sacred gear to come out, however nothing came. I tried repeatedly to summon my sacred gear, but it never appeared. I'm started to feel tense now. Ice. Are you going to come down right now or should I come up there and drag you out? I could hear my mother scream from the kitchen. I'll be down in a moment. I shouted after I went out of my room to respond to my mother's threat from the stairs. I went back inside my room and decided to get dressed out of the pajamas I'm wearing. While I changed in my room, I reviewed everything that has happened so far from the moment I woke up. So far I haven't seen Riaz or anyone else from the Occult Research Club or from Volley's team. I appear to be in my 7-year-old body, my house is back to how it used to be before the renovation happened, and my mother looks younger. And finally I can't summon my boosted gear or communicate with Drake at all. And the worst of all, I can't remember what exactly happened after I stayed in the dimensional gap. Was I able to save Office from that bastard Shalba? Crap, I can't remember a thing. I cursed in silence after my head started to hurt for thinking too much. I headed downstairs after I was done changing clothes. There in the kitchen I saw my dad, who also appeared a few years younger as well, sitting on the table and eating his breakfast. Oh, good morning Ice. My dad greeted me with his mouth full of food. Hey, oh yeah, morning. I replied back with a nervous grin. I sat down on the seat across from my father. Mom came by to deliver my breakfast to me and then sat down in the seat right next to my dad. My dad picked up his morning newspaper and started to read it as Mom and I started to eat our meal. I took a long sip of my drink while my dad started to talk about an article in the newspaper. Says here that they're almost done with building that new academy that is a few blocks from here. It's going to become an all-girls school too. I spat out all the juice from my mouth, which hit my mom. Ah. Ice. What's wrong with you? My soaked mom exclaimed. Sorry. I quickly apologized before turning my dad. But I need to see that article. I quickly yanked the newspaper from my dad's possession. I began to read the news article heedfully. What my dad said was all true. There was an all-girls school getting built and its location is exactly where Kuo Academy was. The only thing that the school was missing was its name. Ice, what's wrong? I felt my dad's hand on my shoulder. It's nothing. I lied to him, putting the newspaper down on the table. Well, if you're done with your breakfast then it's time to go to school then. My mom said, drying herself with a towel her hands. I left for school after breakfast. The elementary that I attended was in the same direction where Kuo Academy was at. I walked to school by myself, so I decided to head to Kuo Academy. When I arrived to the Kuo Academy, I saw a construction site where the school was supposed to be. Hey you. I turned around to see a businessman wearing a construction worker's hat and woman probably his assistant who also wore some business clothes. Yeah you. What are you doing here? A kid like you shouldn't be here. Shouldn't you be going to school or something? Ah yes I am, I told the businessman. But I was curious in the school you're building. Ah you have an interest in construction then? The businessman asked, raising a brow keenly. Well no, I said. I was more interested in the name of the school. Oh that, the businessman replied bitterly. Is that all you're interested in? I nodded and the businessman rolled his eyes in response. Well if I remember correctly the name of the school should be called Ishibumi Academy. What? Isn't the name of the school is in Kuo Academy? I asked. No, I'm sure. This school here is going to be an all-girl military school. The businessman assured me. And no it can't be. I gawked in disbelief. I backed away from the businessman before making a run for it. Sir, Ishibumi Academy is on the other side of town. The school here is actually going to be called Kuo Academy. Oh that's right. Hey kid. The school is actually going to be called Kuo Academy. Kid. I was so far away that I couldn't hear what the businessman or his assistants were saying. I kept on running till I couldn't run anymore. I ended up passing the elementary school, so I decided to go back. I could have ditched school today, but I didn't want to make my parents worried. I ended up late anyways, but I didn't care. I didn't pay attention to the teacher or any of my classmates till lunch. I ended up wondering how did I end up in the body of a 10-year-old and wondering what hell happened in the dimensional gap. I know by fact that I was poisoned by Samael's curse and I passed out due to it. But what happened after that? What happened after I saved Office? Why can't I remember anything after that? Why? 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 Then a thought crossed my mind. A dream? Could it be possible that everything that happened was all just a dream? It's possible that I made everything up. All the battles I experienced, all the people I met, the relationships I built with them, all the icky moments I had, could it be possible that I dreamt it all? How could it be possible that it was all a dream? I'll admit it. It felt too unrealistic to be true. A world where revelation has already happened and it ended with the death of God of the Bible and the four original mass. Not only that, but other mythologies like Norse, Hindu, and other mythologies existed as well. And there was also the fact that there were also many beautiful girls seeking for my attention, and the moments I had were too erotic to happen to a nobody like me. I'm about 10 years old. If my memory served me right, it has been over a year since I've became a true pervert due to the influence of that old man from the park. I was soon isolated from my peers due to having a dirty mind. So everything that happened to me must have been made up, huh? It was nothing more but a dream of being a male protagonist of some light novel. Just like the male protagonist of a light novel, I possessed unimaginable power, had the affection of many girls, and even had an amazing girlfriend. I probably made up everything since I had no friends, and I usually fantasized mostly icky stuff, so it was probably natural that I had many cute girls attracted to me and do erotic things to me in that dream and meet many interesting and unique people. But still it felt so real. Ice. What's wrong? I snapped out of my train of thought when my teacher called my name. What is it? I asked. Are you alright? My teacher asked. What do you mean? You're crying. Huh? I didn't comprehend what the teacher wasn't saying till I wiped on of my cheeks with my palm. I looked back up at my teacher. Do you want to go to the guidance counselor? No, I sniffed the snout in my noise and wiped the flowing tears from my eyes. I'm fine. You sure? I'm sure. The school was over before I knew it. I didn't pay attention to a single word to the teacher or do any schoolwork. When it was lunch and recess, I was completely alone without a single peer coming up to me wondering what was wrong with me. The teacher called me during the middle of recess and asked again just to make sure I didn't need to speak with the guidance counselor. I told her I was fine and it was nothing more than allergies, and she bought it. I spent the remaining time in recess wondering one thing that didn't make sense to me this whole time. Why did I dream that my life was that way for 7 whole years? I experienced 7 years within the dream. Within that dream I experienced puberty, I've seen and owned technology that hasn't been made yet, and I felt physical feeling-like pain and touching lots of oppai. I remember so much of my years as a teen, some that are too realistic till I met Riaz and the others. That couldn't be a dream at all. That's the thing that I think of as a proper solution. But in all the dreams I had, there wasn't a dream where I spent 6.5 years living an odd life, and the other 6 months I lived in a world that I never thought existed. That was the only thing I didn't understand. I let out a sigh of annoyance while I headed out from the entrance of the school. My head is starting to hurt now due to thinking too much about this. I decided to let it go and headed home. While leaving the school building, a glint of silver came into my eyes. It's at the school gate. For a moment I had mistaken it as a scene from a movie. A young kid was looking up at the elementary school. Silver-haired. Graphius and was silver-haired as well, but that kid's was denser, more like, its dark color was stronger. He's a foreigner so I can't estimate his age by looking at him, but maybe around the same age as me? Younger than me? No. Just that he's looking up at the school building, just that act was visible to me like an illusion. He must have realized my presence, his eyes are looking towards me. Those blue eyes were so transparent that one would be drawn in. With a smile like an angel he spoke to me while coming towards me. Hello Issei Haidu. Bali? Is that really you? The silver-haired boy nodded and asked. Can you explain to me what's going on? 1 minute I was slowly dying from Samael's curse and the next thing I knew I woke up in my 10-year-old body. Hey, why the hell are you crying? It was true. I was crying again, but I didn't care. I didn't say anything, however I instead did something to Vali that was probably the last thing I ever wanted to do. I ran up to him and hugged him. Whoa. What are you doing Issei Haidu? Issei. I didn't listen to a single word Vali was saying. Instead I put my head on his shoulder and cried out in relief at everything. I thought that everything that happened to me was true. Vali and I went to the park after I calmed down. We sat down in the bench while watching everyone else minding their own business in the park. So you don't how we ended up in the past either then? Vali asked. No, I said. I can't remember a single thing after receiving Samael's curse from Shalba, and I can't communicate with Drake at all. How about you Vali? Can you speak with Albion? Yeah, I've spoken with Albion before coming here, Vali replied. We believe that you and Drake probably have a hunch why we're spent back 7 years to the past. I don't have a clue how it happened, and I can't speak with Drake at all. I told him, clutching my left hand into a fist in frustration. It must be that you're probably too weak to summon your sacred gear, Vali assumed. There are many people who can't summon their sacred gears due to being weak and probably don't know that they exist. Being too weak eh? That should sound right. If I remembered correctly, Drake told me he was trying to communicate with me for a long time, but couldn't since I was too weak, and there were also some of my past senpai who weren't aware that they were the Sekiruyute for being weak too. Hey Vali, before I said continue to say anything, Vali cut me off by putting his hand on top of my mouth. I didn't understand what he was doing till I noticed my surrounding. The people in the park are frozen solid. There are things in mid-air like a frisbee and birds that are frozen as well and not coming down to the ground. The only thing that was moving was none other than the sky, where it started to be distorted. Cuckoo, I heard a strange laughter in the sky. For some reason the voice sounded familiar to me, but I can't think of anybody I know who sounds like that. So the two heavenly dragons have finally reunited. I've been waiting for ages for the two of you reunited. Where in the world did I heard that voice? Ah. My head. I placed both my hands on top of my head as it started to hurt. All of my memories flashed through my eyes. Everything I remembered, everything I've forgotten, and every little detail about my life came to me all at once. It was like I was reliving everything I've been through. Then a memory crossed my mind. A memory that happened after I rescued Office. A memory that I couldn't believe that I forgot about. A memory of that man dressed in white. He told me that he was going to save me from Samael's curse and I'll be in his debut. When I opened my eyes and took my hands off my head, Volley and I were no longer in the park. We're in a familiar living room and large bookshelf near the fireplace. Well, hello Sekiryuite and Hacker Yuiku. A voice greeted us from behind. We both turned around to see a young dark-skinned man dressed in a white tux and top hat. He had beautiful straight silver hair that reached down his shoulders and bright golden eyes. He carried a white cane in his hands, which each were covered by a white glove. I remembered him from the memory flash I just had. How do you do? The young man asked, taking off his top hat and taking a quick bow. The name is Father Time. You probably don't remember me, but I'm the man who rescued you from death itself. Chapter 3. Life 02. The Man of Time. The man dressed in a white, who saved my soul and apparently Volley's as well known as Father Time Sama, stood right in front of us. He snapped his fingers and an attractive buxom brunette maid with an amazing bust coming in with a tray of delicious snacks. Sit. Father Time Sama said, taking a seat for himself. Volley and I obliged by sitting on a leather sofa to next each other. The brunette maid passed the snacks and cup of tea to the three of us before leaving. When the maid left, it was total awkward silence. None of us said a word to another. Father Time Sama drank a sip of his tea exquisitely like a true nobleman, while I drank my tea a bit awkwardly, since I never learned how to drink tea properly. Volley on the other hand didn't drink his tea at all. He didn't even eat the snacks the beautiful maid gave us. Hey, eat up. This beautiful Onison, girl, not sister, probably spent all her time making these delicious snacks. So today's weather in Japan is nice. Father Time Sama said, trying to bring up small talk to break the awkward silence, but it's only making the atmosphere even worse. We all remain in an awkward silence for another minute or two before I decided to clear my throat to say something. Father Time Sama, I was very hesitant to speak. Mostly because I wasn't sure how to thank the man that I barely know who saved me from death. What is it, my child? Father Time Sama asked in a well-mannered tone. My face reddened when I noticed the glamorous smile on his face. I put the teacup down to a mini table that stood between the sofa Volley and I sat and the fancy chair Father Time Sama sat in. When I put the teacup down, I got up from my seat. I took one last gulp before I spoke. Thank for saving my life, Father Time Sama. I spoke very fast while I did a quick small bow. Father Time Sama snickered in response. Don't worry about it, Issei Haidu. It's an honor to be thanked by the great Sekiryuite himself. Speaking of Sekiryuite. Father Time Sama seemed to remember something important and snapped his fingers. The moment he snapped his fingers I felt something coming from my left hand. Summon it. Father Time Sama said, leaving me puzzled. I thought by looking at my expression, Father Time Sama will get annoyed of my ignorance, but instead he simply chuckled. Your sacred gear. Try summoning your sacred gear. Sure. I said, putting my left hand out. I closed my eyes and concentrated all my thoughts into the summon. I couldn't pull this off before since I was too weak to summon it. I hope this time it was different. Hum forth. Boosted gear. The flash of red light starts to take form and covers my left arm. After the light disappears, my left arm is covered in a red gauntlet. It's equipped with a flashy-looking object. It looks like a very fine and realistic cosplay item. The part that covers the back of my hand has a green gem-like object embedded in it. Actually, it looks more like a jewel instead of just a gem. I smiled and relieved after seeing the red gauntlet. Partner. I heard a familiar voice coming from the gauntlet as the jewel lightened up. Greg. I called out my partner's name out loud. Oh partner Sniff, I'm so glad that you've been able to hear me. Greg. Are you crying? I asked. Yeah, I've been crying, Greg admitted. You poor thing, Father Time Sama said sympathetically. You must have been worried about your partner. No, not really. Both Father Time Sama and I gawked in Drake's response. Wait, if you weren't crying about me, what were crying about? I had to ask. Just watch. Drake sniffed as a vision appeared from the jewel. The vision had all of my past senpais. They were all lined up together like some sort of choir. There was one of them dressed like a compasser who carried a baton. Wait, the compasser who carrying the baton is thought of one the past Albion that came from the jewel of the divine dividing that I inserted into the boosted gear during my first fight against Volley. What is he doing dressed like a compasser? Okay, let's try this again. Albion Senpai tapped the baton on the music stand and waved it up the air like a compasser. There is a breast-loving dragon living in the edge of a certain country. The dragon goes for a walk when the weather is good. Dragon op-eye dragon. Grope grope, suck pafu pafu. There are so many types of breasts, but he likes the big ones the best. The op-eye dragon also flies today. In an edge of a certain town, the op-eye dragon was laughing. Even on a stormy day, the op-eye dragon becomes happy by pressing breasts. Dragon op-eye dragon. Click click, zoom yayin. He has seen lots of breasts, but he likes big ones the best. The op-eye dragon also pushes today. I'm stupefied. I'm truly am, yet I had a feeling. A terrible feeling that it was going to happen. Bravo. Bravo. Albion Senpai applauded the choir of my past senpai with a round of applause. However, this isn't enough. If we're going to regain the connection to our kohai, we need to make it more lively and this time with more feeling. Wait. So the way my past senpais were singing wasn't lively enough or had enough feeling. They were all in sync, and they sounded a lot better than the singer of the actually theme song. They've been singing the Op-Eye Dragon theme song for the past few hours. Drake explained with depressed sigh. They think that they might be able to communicate with you again if they tried singing the Op-Eye Dragon theme song over and over again. So no wonder Drake has been crying. These Baka senpais of mine have been torturing the poor Drake for hours with the only thing that make him depressed. Hey. You Baka, what the hell is the meaning of this? Before I could chew off my senpais for making Drake depressed, a familiar voice interrupting me coming from Volley's direction. Father Time Sama, myself, and even my Baka past senpais, especially Albion Senpai, turned towards to Volley's direction, who had his divine dividing popped out from his back. Why in the good name of Lucifer is one of my past predecessors in the boosted gear, and why is he participating in such foul activity? The voice exclaimed through the divine dividing. Albion. Is that you? Drake asked, identified the voice. Yes, Drake, it's me. Albion affirmed. But that isn't important right now. I'm more concerned about why that predecessor of mine is doing around in your boosted gear and acting so idiotic like your current host. We all turned our gaze back to the boosted gear, vision on the jewel zoomed in on Albion Senpai. It's been a while since I last saw you, Issei Haidu, Albion. Albion Senpai said, noticing my presence and saying hello to original Albion. He looked the other way, which got me puzzled on what is he doing. Good news everybody. It worked. We've made contact with our kohai. Yeah. The song of Op-Eye Dragon work. Our voice reached to our beloved kohai. 3 cheers for all our hard work. Hip hip, hooray, hip hip, hooray, hip hip, hooray. I could hear loud cheers of joy from the background. It must have been my past senpais. Drake did say that they've been trying to reach to me by singing Op-Eye Dragon's theme song. I really want to tell them the truth that singing Op-Eye Dragon didn't help at all, but after hearing those happy cheers, I decided to let it slide and allow them to have their moment. So what does my former partner want to talk about? Albion Senpai asked, turning his head back to Volley and the divine dividing. How did you, one of my past predecessors, get into the boosted gear? The original Albion asked. It happened during our current partner's first fight. Drake explained. This fragment thought of a past hacker Yuiku entered the boosted gear when my partner inserted one of the divine dividing jewels into boosted gear. Though the real me must probably be still in the divine dividing. Albion Senpai added. Okay, then why don't you tell me why he is behaving as like a bamboo like the rest of your former partners? Albion asked. Oh, I'm the cause of all this. Albion Senpai confessed casually like it was nothing. What? Yeah, I caused everyone to be this way after Issei Haidu made his new chant and convert his scale mail from red to crimson. It was because of Albion Senpai I was able to overcome the dark thoughts of my past predecessors and not use Juggernaut Drive. I added into Albion Senpai and the original Albion's conversation. So it was because of a hacker you were able to obtain your crimson armor then? The original Albion asked. Kind of. Albion Senpai said, waving his hand sideways. I simply used the power of divide to surpass the darkness of the Juggernaut Drive, while Issei Haidu did the rest. Okay, if you were the one help Issei Haidu achieved his crimson armor, then why did you do it? Volley brought up. Oh, that's an easy one. Albion Senpai said with a cheerful smile. It's because he's interesting. I understood why 2 of the strongest Sekiruyuteis in history vanished while laughing. If it's Ice, who has enthusiasm and amusement that can blow away the curse, then he might be able to lead the 2 heavenly dragons to a new possibility. The way you speak of Issei Haidu is you believes he's a phenomenon. Father Time Sama finished off Volley's sentence before Volley had a chance to finish it. The three of us, Albion Senpai, Volley, and myself, shifted our gazes to Father Time, who took a quick sip of his tea before speaking again. Yeah, I said it. I believe that Issei Haidu is a phenomenon. Though I know you weren't going to refer him as that, Volley, you have to admit he's not someone you call normal, especially since he's a big pervert who received major power-ups by the touch of breast. Volley made a bitter smile after hearing that. You're right. I'll admit that my rival is far from normal, and I'll admit some of the things he does isn't normal, but now that you mentioned it, it makes me kind of relieved that my rivalry is truly a phenomenon, despite the flaws he has, especially his perverted side. Volley's bitter smile changed into a smile of pleasure as he talks about me being a phenomenon, but I'm none the other hand. Me? A phenomenon? No, you must be mistaking me for another. I said modestly. I can think hundreds of people consider to be a bigger phenomenon than me, and a good reason too. There is Surziches and Ajuka Blizabub Sama, who are considered two devils of their own class known as super devils. There is a Sererg who strives to achieve his goal to become Mao, despite not having any demonic, is also Kiba, due to achieving his holy demonic sword, and even Volley, for not only being the strongest hacker Yuiku that ever existed, but also being a descendant of Lucifer. They are deserved to be called a phenomenon, not me. You seem to be doubting yourself, child. Father Time Sama said just by looking at the look of my face. My body tensed up after he said that. Ah yes. I'm sorry, Father Time Sama, but I can't think of a perfectly good reason why you consider me as a phenomenon in the first place. Father Time Sama's smile turned into an earnest frown. He breathed in and out before he continued to speak. I lived a long life. I was born since the dawn of time itself. But you want to know something, Issei Haidu, Volley Lucifer, and you two past predecessor of the divine dividing. Not only I act as the anthropomorphized depiction of time, but I also became the watcher of the entire universe. My eyes widen up by surprised from what Father Time Sama just said. The watcher of the entire universe, does he mean he sees everything happening to everyone everywhere? As the observer of the entire universe, I tend to see things in a cycle. Father Time Sama continued. A repeated cycle to Frank. You have heard the old saying history repeats itself. Well, that's what I always see, things repeated itself. I've seen the same thing for so long that I find the world to be so boring now. Interesting. Father Time Sama and Volley both have same view of the world we're currently in. Father Time Sama continued. Did you know that if an important mythological figure like a chief god or someone who is like the original Mao dies, then the balance of the universe changes? It affected everyone within the human and mythological world. Though you might not realize this, but the death of God of the Bible and the four original mass not only affected the way the core members of the biblical faction thinks, but also affects the lives of other gods and deities in all mythologies in the world. Now that he talked about it, I'm starting to see what he was trying to say. I've met and spoken with other mythological figures from different faction, and what I suspected from was completely different. A prime example is the chief god Odin. He was totally not what I suspected to be when I first met him. I suspected him to be a stuck-up, stern, and have great pride in himself. However, when I got to know him, he was kind, laid back, and sadly perverted, and I mean very perverted, old man. After God of the Bible and the four mass died during the Great War, I suspected that their deaths would greatly affect the world in either the way they think or change the fate of others. Though I was glad that some changes did happen in the world, but I was sadly disappointed. The huge changes I see came very slowly and it was so anticlimactic. I have seen the changes that the death of biblical leaders placed in many mythological figures, however the cycle of repetition didn't end. History kept repeating itself. I was for sure that if the future of the world kept repeating itself, then it would be the end for everybody, albeit I found something interesting that had to be the work of the death of God of the Bible and the original four Mao. He stopped speaking and pointed his finger directly at me. And that interesting thing is you. Eh? Me? I pointed to myself while Far Time Sama nodded. You know why I called you a phenomenon? It's because you possess the strength to destroy the old world and bring in a new one. Wait, what? I couldn't believe what I'm hearing. Father Time Sama is thinking too highly of me. I may have the power to defeat or kill the god if I mastered it, but I don't have that kind of power to change the world. Father Time Sama, there is no way I possess the power you're speaking of. I said, stuttering in between my words. Father Time Sama let out a sigh as he got up from his chair. You really think that your existence doesn't play a crucial role in the world we live in? He tapped the bottom of the cane against the ground. The entire living room began to be devoured by darkness. Volley and I got off from the sofa in time before it was consumed by the darkness. It wasn't long till the entire living room was pitched black along with the furniture. The darkness soon faded away. The scenery we're in is a destroyed city. What also makes the scenery so disturbing is that the ruined city is also a battleground. There are humans, angels, fallen angels, and devils fighting against one another. The angels and fallen angels are using their power of light, while the devils use their demonic energy and humans using their sacred gears. I didn't understand what is going on till. Boost. There was a human that caught my attention. He's a young handsome man with long black hair and light green eyes. He looked right about my age and he had a slender build. He was dressed like some sort of black biker's attire. The only reason I had my full attention on him was because he had something on his left hand that he shouldn't have. The boosted gear. Welsh Dragon Balance Breaker. The moment after the boosted gear made its announcement, the young-looking biker was covered in a familiar red armor. The red armor is none other than my boosted gear's scale mail. Why is here? This is the world where Issei never existed. Father Time Sama said, looking directly at the Securitate intervening the attacks of the angels, fallen angels, and devils. The Securitate over there is the one who replaces Issei. What exactly is he doing in this war? Vali asked. The Securitate over there is intervening in the war between the biblical factions. Father Time Sama explained. He's leading a small brigade filled with angels, fallen angels, devils, and other races against the entire biblical factions. Wait a minute. Why are the biblical factions at war in this world? I asked. It's because Kakabiel killed the heiress of the house of Sitri. Sona Sitri, the best friend and rival of Ria's and young sister of the current Mao Leviathan, Seraphol Leviathan. She was also the current student council president of the Kuo Academy. For a moment I didn't understand why Sona Kaichu died since I didn't exist in that world, but when I finally did the math, it came to me. Ria's had problems with her family involving her engagement with Razor before Kakabiel came to town. Since I didn't exist in that world, then Ria's wouldn't been able to free herself from Razor's engagement, and that means she's. No. I don't want to believe that there is a world where Ria's is forced to marry some douchebag out her own will. I won't accept it. Never. If you're wondering if the Ria's of that world married Razor Phoenix, then no. I snapped out of my train of thought after hearing Father Time Sama's voice. I lifted my gaze up to view Father Time Sama's back. In all the worlds I've seen, Ria's Gremory has never wed with Razor Phoenix or any pure-blood devil she accepts to be her mate. I don't believe there is such a world where Ria's Gremory is forced to marry someone who she doesn't love. Father Time Sama said without looking back at me. I let out a sigh of relief after hearing that. I'm greatly relieved that all the Rias in the other worlds aren't forced to marry someone that she doesn't love. Now then Father Time Sama tapped the bottom part of his cane to the floor. The imagine of the battlefield where the other Securitate facing against the biblical factions vanished and we're now standing back in the living room. The bust he made came back while holding on to a tray with a piece of fruit. Let's get to business then. Father Time Sama said, heading back to his seat while his maid approached me with the fruit she was carrying on that tray. Do you see that fruit my maid is carrying? Ah yeah, I see it. I told him awkwardly, unsure what's purpose of the fruit is about. The fruit you see is none other the fruit that came from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Not only me, but also Vali seemed very shocked to hear about the piece of fruit. I remember hearing about the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It's the fruit of the tree that made Adam and Eve, the first man and woman to ever existed in the world, to be banned from the Garden of Eden. I only know this because I overheard the church trio talking about it. If my memory serves me right, the location of the tree and its fruit is in heaven. So why does Father Time Sama got his hand on the fruit in the first place? What is he tending to do with this fruit? Wait, don't tell me you're serious about giving the fruit to Issei. Do you know the risk of someone with his crappy brain no offense like his might happen if he can't handle it? Vali asked, guessing Father Time Sama's motivates. Yes, I know. Father Time Sama affirmed by nodding, but I believe that young Issei has what it takes to eat the fruit. True he isn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, however his strong will makes up for it. Hey. I stuttered. What exactly are you planning to do with me and this fruit? You're going to eat it of course. Father Time Sama said, leaving more confused. But what is about the fruit that makes Vali so edgy? Issei, the fruit itself isn't any normal fruit, Vali said. Eating the fruit expands the mind of its devourer by giving you the wisdom of the everything in the world and give you the wisdom of an old sage. However there is a price for all that knowledge. A price? Yes, Father Time Sama said. All of the knowledge and wisdom in the world might change your sanity depending on how smart you are, your strong will, and how pure as your heart is. Heck you might die if you can't handle the knowledge of the fruit. So you're making me eat this piece of fruit despite knowing the side effects that might happen to me. Of course, Father Time Sama casually like it wasn't nothing. You're going to need the knowledge of the fruit if you're going to continue your road as Securitate. What do you mean? I asked, raising a brow. Father Time Sama leaned his back to his chair and rested his arms on his armrest. Tell me Issei, what are you going to do now since I brought Dragon the boosted gear back to you? I began to blurt it out sound, but a single clear word came out from my mouth. I began to rub the back of my neck sheepishly. I really have no idea what I'm planning to do now that I have Dragon the boosted gear back. I no longer possess the power of the balance breaker, my illegal move trident, or even my true queen. Heck, I'm no longer a devil in the first place. It was only when I was devil I was able to summon the boosted gear in the first place. Do you know why I'm giving you the fruit Issei Haidu? Father Time Sama suddenly asked. No, I don't. I was very curious why Father Time Sama is giving me something so sacred like the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. It's because I believe you're the phenomenon that will change the world, Father Time Sama explained. And I want to help you become the phenomenon that the world needs. That's why I'm willing to offer you my help. That's why I want to have a pact with you Issei Haidu. The contract is that I, Father Time, am willing to aid Issei Haidu in his training to become the greatest Sekiryu that ever existed, and in return, you must do my bidding anytime or anywhere. And this apple here represents the contract between the two us. So how about it Issei Haidu? Are you willing to sign the pact by biting that apple? I thought deeply about the offer Father Time Sama is offering me. I'm already in this man's debt as it is for saving my life from Samael's curse, and there is no way I'm going to do nothing for 7 years till I become a devil once more. I probably no longer possess the power of my scale mail or the power of my illegal move trident or even my crimson cardinal promotion. Heck, I probably can't handle none of the three due to being in a weak body of a 10-year-old. The maid passed me the tray with the sacred fruit on top. I caressed a piece of fruit in my hand and picked it up. I examined the fruit and then to Father Time Sama. If I eat this fruit, do you believe that I withstand the knowledge coming into my mind? I asked. I do. Father Time Sama bobbed his head. Alright then. I let out a sigh before taking one huge bite on the fruit. As I slowly chewed on the chunk in my mouth, I quickly realized how sweet and juicy the fruit was and began to munch down on the rest of the fruit. I didn't realize that I finished the entire fruit till I accidentally bit my own finger. Man, that fruit was delicious. I said, tapping my stomach in delight. Weird. Father Time Sama looked completely stupefied as his eyes widened and had his hand on his chin. I suspected you to have a massive headache or something when you ate the fruit. Really? I said. Because I really don't feel I placed both hands on top of my head as I felt great on my brain. It must be the knowledge that Father Time Sama told me about. I need to endure the pain of the knowledge I'm receiving. I felt out from my seat and landed on my knees. My head I groaned quietly as so many different types of information entered my mind all at once. It hurts. It hurts so much. It's like my brain is being yanked by a rack. There is so much information going inside of my head. It's too much for me to handle it. I can't handle it anymore. I just can't. Just as I was about to give in to the pain of the knowledge going inside of my head, a faint color of crimson appeared in my eyes. Hang on a little longer now, it's almost over. That voice I'm seeing and imagine inside of my mind. All the pain inside of my brain disappeared as she appeared as Riaz appeared smiling to me with gentle eyes. That's when it hit me, I realized why I ate the fruit in the first place. Holy shit, it fucking hurts. I placed on my hands on the floor before I start banging my head on the ground. Graya. I smashed my head one last time on the ground before the pain began to slowly fade away. I was heavily panting to catch my breath. I've endured the painful knowledge of the fruit that came from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Are you alright? I felt a hand on my shoulder. When I looked up, I see Vali offering me his other hand to get back up. I took his hand and I was pulled back up onto my feet. I sat back down to my seat after feeling dizzy just for standing. So how do you feel? Father Time Sama asked. Fine. I told him after I let out a small pant. I'm still the same person before I ate the fruit, or I think I am at least. However, I don't feel so dense or ignorant to things anymore now that I think back about my past. Yet I'm actually using my newfound knowledge to use now. I'm not trying to think of things that I didn't know, but about my past events that happened to me during my time as a devil. To be more specific, I'm thinking more of my time interacting with Riaz and the other girls in the occult research club. Man, I'm such an idiot. How did I not pick up those romantic signs of those girls of the occult research club? Man, I feel like a complete idiot for not picking them up. Maybe I would have picked up those signs up earlier if I hadn't got so scarred by Rainer. Heck, even if I did pick them up while still scarred from Rainer, I probably wouldn't be able to make the move in the first place. It seems you're already using the knowledge in good use then. Father Time Sama pointed out. So what exactly are you thinking of right now? Oh, nothing much. I said sheepishly, not wanting to tell him that I'm reflecting back about my love life. Okay then, Nimue. Father Time Sama turned to his maid. He signaled her by snapping his fingers. The maid pulled out 2 small gems from her maid's outfit and gave it to Father Time Sama. Here, catch. Father Time Sama quickly threw the gem at Vali and me. We quickly caught it, thought it barely fell out from my hand, while Vali caught it perfectly. What's this? I asked. Oh, you'll know when the time comes, Father Time Sama said, leaving both Vali and I puzzled. Now I have someone who is dying to meet you. Another guest. I wasn't sure who was this guest Father Time Sama talked about till I saw a small, petite girl with long black hair and dull grey eyes, dressed in a gothic Lolita fashion dress. Office. Both Volley and I exclaimed in unison. The girl, who's considered to be the most powerful dragon behind the great leader and also the figurehead and founder of the terrorist organization Chaos Brigade, and lastly the girl I saved from Shalba's hand is standing right in front of me. Hello Volley, Drag. Ah, she must still referring as Drag, eh? I let it slide though since the office is safe and sound. Are you fine? How did you end up here? I've sent her soul back in time after I saved yours from Samael's curse. Father Time Sama answered my question. Since you were so concerned of this dragon's well-being, I thought I'd bring her back too to put your worries at ease. I see that's good to know. But what about your strength? It was Volley who asked about it. I have half my strength now. Office confessed. Half her strength? We all looked back up to Father Time Sama. Well, when I brought Office's memories of her past self, she was already had all her powers of being infinite again, so I requested her to split herself into two halves. One of the halves will stay with one of you, while the other forms the Chaos Brigade. Oh, that's good to know. Well, I'm glad that at least Office have half her strength and a small portion of it. So is that it? Volley asked. Can we go back to human world now or do you need something else? Well, now you mentioned it, I need to speak with the spirits of the boosted gear and the divine dividing. The bunch of question marks appeared above our heads when Father Time Sama requested it. The jewel of the boosted gear and the light blue feathers of the divine dividing lit up as both of them speak up. Reading Father Time Sama, I am the Welsh dragon, Drake. And I am the vanishing dragon, Albion. Hello, Father Time Sama greeted back with a small bow. It's an honor to speak to both heavenly dragons at once. So what business do you want to speak to the two of us? Drake asked. Father Time Sama let out some air through his mouth before he speak. I requested both you and the vanishing dragon, Albion, to bury the hatchet. Did Father Time Sama said what I think he said? He wants Drake and Albion to forgive one another after all these years of fighting against one another, he got to be kidding me. Wait, you're being serious here? Albion asked with his voice shocked. Father Time Sama bobbed his head. Of course I am. Why should I joke around about it? Tell me, do you still have ill feelings for one another? No, I currently have no ill intentions against Albion. Neither do I, however I can't forgive Drake. Oh? Father Time Sama raised a brow in interest and makes a devilish smile. Don't tell me it has to do with Oppi Dragon. And no it does not. That's Drake's problem. Not mine. Huh? For some reason Albion seemed rather flustered. Wait, don't tell me Father Time Sama is going to. Oh you don't say, Ketsuryuku. Shut up. No one calls me that. Really? If I remembered correctly, you're the bipolar opposite of the other the heavenly dragon, Drake, who is also the Oppi dragon. If Drake, who's a heavenly dragon, shouldn't you, his opposite, be the Ketsuryuku? Maybe pulling down my maid's panties might triggered some sort of fetish. The moment Father Time Sama said it, Albion started to sound dumbstruck. The panty, bottom, but. I am not a Ketsuryuku. Get a grip. Get a hold of yourself, white one. Drake tries to bring some sense back to Albion. Albion then says with a husky voice. Listen, Drake. This isn't the place to say it, but. What is it, Albion? You are not the only one suffering from Oppi Dragon. I am also in pain. Ooh, white one. Why you have come to understand me. Drake for some reason starts crying due to being emotionally moved. Yeah, of course I have. Breasts and butts, why do we who were called the two heavenly dragons have to suffer from such things this much? At one point I held a grudge against both you and Issei, but Issei and Volley aren't the only ones at fault here. Most likely it is that this era is bad for the two heavenly dragons. Ooh, I know. I can understand that. Yes. This era is too bitter for us, the legendary dragons. Even Fafnir is in that state. Is it me or are those two having a mutual understanding with each other? And does Fafnir has to do with it? Is there something that Drake knows about that I don't? Both of them share their opinions with a teary voice. Yes, let's have a discussion till our hearts are healed. Yeah, that may be a good idea. I see, so I wasn't the only one suffering. Is it me, or does it seem like there's a settlement of some sort happening between those two? They act as though me and Volley are at fault here. I said with a sigh of grief. I make my argument just in case, but Drake's speech towards me is cold. I'm sorry partner. Let me speak to Albion for a while. This discussion is really important for me right now. Yes, I also want you to leave me alone for a while as well, Volley. There are things that only dragons can come to understand. Well, that went better than I suspected. Father Time Sama said as he snapped his fingers. Now then you guys can go back home now. Also Issei Haidu. I looked at him as Volley and Office head to the magic circle. Your training starts the moment the gem you hold serves its purpose. I tilted my head in confusion as I held to the red gem that Father Time Sama gave me. Wait, what exactly are these gems meant to do in the first place? Oh, you'll know, Father Time Sama assured me before looking at Volley. That also goes for you too, Volley Lucifer. Hold on to them with your life. Don't worry. I'll keep the gems safe. Volley said reassuringly. It's time go to now. Father Time Sama said, taking me to the magic circle. Don't worry Issei Haidu. You'll know what the purpose of the gem when the time comes. I guaranteed. Oh okay, I said, taking Father Time Sama's words to consideration. The magic circle began to brighten up before one of us vanished one at a time. The first one to go was Volley. Then it was Office, and lastly it was me. But before I go, I heard one last sentence coming from Father Time Sama's mouth. Let's meet again. I heard him before the light of the magic circle flashed up. We all came back to the park after leaving the living room of Father Time Sama. The three of us were all sitting back in the bench in the same seat except for Office, who is sitting in between Volley and I before we were teleported to Father Time Sama's living room. Every person and object in the air are moving again like nothing happened. I checked the time on a street clock that wasn't away from the bench I'm sitting and realized that weren't even gone for a minute. It must have been the magic of Father Time Sama. Before I could say anything to Volley, the descendant of Lucifer was already out of his seat and leaving the park. Hey wait. I shouted. Volley stopped while I caught up to him. Where are you going? I asked. Home. Volley said. What about Office? She'll stay with you. Say what now? I made a clueless expression after Volley said it. Office will stay with you. Volley repeated clearly. I can't let her stay with me while I'll spend most of my time training again with the Grigori and trying to see what the purpose of these gems are in the first place. Those gems that Father Time Sama gave us. Father Time Sama told me that the gems were supposed to help me, and when the gem serves its purpose, my training will begin. But the only thing that I don't understand is what purpose do these gems Father Time Sama gave us? Well, looks like I need to wait and see then. Alright, I'll let Office stay with me. I said, letting out a resigning sigh after seeing poor Office all alone in the park. However, don't tell Azazel Sensei that you've spoken to me yet. I don't want him to know that I'm the Sekirute just yet. Oh, why's that? Volley asked. I don't know. I'm also shocked that I said that. It's not that I don't want to speak to Azazel Sensei, and I know he can be a great help to me with learning how to use my sacred gear. So why did I just say that? Hey Issei, can I ask you something? While I was thinking to myself, Volley broke my concentration by asking his question. What is it, Volley? The Father Time Sama only brought the memories of you and Office, so why do I have my memories as well? Now that Volley mentioned it, how does he have his memories of his past life? I must ask Father Time Sama the next time I see him. Well then, I'll be taking my leave. Volley said his goodbye and left. As he goes, I had one thought that crossed my mind. What now? Many months later, it's been months since the last time I've spoken with Father Time Sama, and I haven't seen him since. I've kept in touch with Volley about the gems, so far he hasn't found anything mystical about them. He had his gem examined by the Grigori themselves, and what data he received from them is that the gem is completely plain. Despite that, we both decide to keep them either way. Bragg eventually spoke to me after a few hours speaking to Albion. He told me that both he and Albion were able to make a mutual misunderstanding with one another during his time away from me. He told me that now they've made peace one another, they need to talk about their pasts, while my past senpais go consult with the past predecessors of the divine dividing. Last I heard of my past senpais, Albion Senpai is acting the role of leader to the past predecessors of the boosted gear, since Belzard and Elsha are gone. I hope Albion Senpai can talk some sense to past hacker Yukas and my past senpais behaves themselves. The last thing I want is misunderstanding that cause of the past hacker Yuiku to not accept the mutual understanding between the two heavenly dragons. As for me, I've decided to enroll myself into a martial arts class. Since the gems haven't gone what it's supposed to do, I've decided to do some physical training and learn how to fight properly. These moves I'm learning might help me in the future, especially if I'm fighting against Saraerg in the future. As for Office, I win. It was late in the night inside my bedroom. Office and I have been playing Super Smash Bros on my Nintendo 64 for the last hour, and Office has been on an undefeated streak ever since. Looks like I lost again. I gave out a pity laugh, putting my control down. Office has been living in the Haidu residence for the last few months. With a little persuasion and sadly some memory alternation magic, I was able to convince my parents to allow Office to stay in my house. She's been an obedient, curious, and naive child since she moved into our house. Seeing Office like this makes me realize how much Office was nothing more a tool to the Cows Brigade members. It just angers me so much realizing that Office was nothing more but a power source to them. Ice, what's wrong? I blinked for a second before realizing Office was calling my attention. What is it, Office? Isn't the summer festival coming soon? Festival? I cocked my head as Office went to my desk and opened a drawer. She took something out and handed it to me. It was small flyer about the summer festival that office was talking about. Oh yeah, it's that time of the year again. It's summer and the schools has let the students for summer break. I put the flyer down and gazed back at office. Perchance do you want to go to it? Office bobbed her head. I never been to one before. Seems interesting. Knock, knock, Ice, office. It's time for bed. We could hear my mom's voice coming through my bedroom door telling us to go to sleep. We both slept in different rooms, so we said good night to each other before she left to her own room. I turned off the light in my room and headed straight for bed. I closed my eyes, but I'm not asleep yet. I decided to twist and turn around on the bed, but I had no luck going to sleep. I've been staring at the ceiling for the past few hours. I got out of my bed and looked up at the full moon through my window. The moon, it reminds me of the artificial moon I saw in the underworld. I'm wondering what Riaz is doing at this moment. Is she learning the culture of Japan yet? Or is she busy with her high-class studies? Maybe she's meeting with Akeno-san. If my memory serves me right, Riaz told me that Akeno has lost her mother at the age of 10 and she has been wandering through Japan all by herself. Hopefully Akeno-san is safe now. I don't want to imagine. I stopped thinking the moment I looked down the street. There was a homeless girl walking through the street all alone dressed in ragged clothes. That girl carried no shoes and looked completely filthy. She's very weary and her body movement is very wobble. She looks like was going to collapse of anemia. She did collapsed. She collapsed face first right at my lawn. I quickly got out of my bedroom and headed outside. By the time I got to the collapsed girl, she was struggling to get back up. Hey, are you alright? I asked, helping the girl back up. I am fine. The girl murmured softly, shaking me off from helping her. She tried to walk on her own, but tripped, though I quickly caught in time. No, you're not. I told the girl. Stop. Leave me be. The young girl raised her voice and tried to get off from me, but I held on to her. No, you're hurt. You need to be treated quick. I became silent the moment I looked into the girl's haggard eyes. Violet, the color of her eyes is violet. And the expression in those eyes seems a bit lifeless and it seemed like she doesn't care and is in self-abandonment. The last time I seen violet eyes like these was when Akeno-san tried to force herself to sleep with me to receive comfort before our fight against Loki. Wait, don't tell me she's Akeno. The girl seemed shocked the moment I said her name. She was able to get herself free and back away. Who are you? How do you know my name? Chapter 4, Live 03. Guardian Angel PT-01. Akeno-san. The girl got out of my grasp and backed away. I seeing the reaction of the homeless girl, I can clearly tell that she is Akeno Himejima-san, the daughter of the shrine maiden Shuri Himejima and the legendary fallen angel, Barakiel. The same Akeno-san who is also Ria's queen and the priestess of thunder and lightning and the vice president of the Kuo Academy's occult research club. Who are you? How do you know my name? She's trembling in fear and looked as if she was on the verge to make a break for it. I can tell she doesn't trust me. She's looking at me as if I was coming after her. I knew that I needed to do something to make her trust me. Look, I spoke in a calm and soft tone, putting out my left hand out. It's alright. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just like you. She widened her eyes in shock, but that shock soon turned into rage as Akeno-san speaks up. No, you're not. You're nothing like me. You don't know what I am. Yes, I do. I shook my head softly as the boosted gear appeared on my left hand. You possess the blood of a fallen angel, don't you? Akeno-san tensed up after I said that. She took another step back from me and was about to turn around to run away, but I quickly grabbed her wrist in time with the boosted gear. She struggled to get herself loose, but I gently tightened the grip on her wrist. After trying to free herself for a few minutes or so, Akeno-san finally gave in and drops down onto her knees. I couldn't tell what she was thinking. Her face was looking straight to the ground and her eyes are covered by her dirty bangs. The only way I could tell that she was showing any kind of emotions were the tears that were dripping down to the street. Akeno-san. I crouched down to Akeno's height. Can you let me be, please? I want to be left alone. Akeno-san slowly raised her head. I became utterly speechless when I saw the sobbing eyes of Akeno-san. Her face is still the same as it was before, but her eyes. Those sobbing eyes, those eyes are far worse than the ones I saw right before the fight against Loki. Please, I beg of you, just let me be. I let go of Akeno-san's wrist. She, however, stayed in place. Drip, drip, rain began to fall. It started out small with just drips hitting the ground, but it soon started to pour heavier in seconds. I ignored the rain pouring down on me. All of my attention was focused on the poor homeless girl crying for help. I caressed her cheek with the hand of the boosted gear. Akeno-san cowered in fear for a moment before she placed her hand on the boosted gear. Why, you're like me? She asked tearfully. There was something in her eyes. Yeah, I nodded. I'm part dragon. It was a small glimpse of hope. Dragon, huh? Akeno-san closed her eyes as her body fell forward. I caught her again. Akeno-san. I didn't hear a single word of reply from Akeno. However, I did hear. Zzz. Bara. Snoring. Yup, I'm listening the sweet sound of sleep from Akeno-san's lips. I let out a small sigh of relief. I believe that I have gained Akeno-san's trust for now. Boost. I doubled the strength so my small arms and hands can carry Akeno-san's body bride style back to my room. How is she doing? She's going to be fine. Though she's completely tired from fatigue and hunger, she's going to be just fine now since she's here with us. It's been an hour since I found a childlike and homeless Akeno-san wandering through the neighborhood. I took her into my room and put her in the bed. I then woke Office up. I couldn't go to my parents again and alter their memories again. If I remembered correctly, Azazel-sensei told me that I shouldn't alter the memories of other too much because it will leave a bad effect. Office was the only hope I had to check on Akeno-san condition. I'll admit that Office is similar to a child mimicking everything she sees, as she has often wanted to do things normally done by someone in the house, but she's the second strongest being in the world and lived a very long life. She should at least be knowledgeable of nursing at least. Sadly, Office didn't know a single thing of nursing, so I had her to create a barrier around my room and the entire house to prevent anyone from sensing Akeno-san, Office or my presence in this house. The barrier around my room prevents my parents from knowing that I'm awake or even that there is someone else here in my room. So who in the world is checking Akeno-san's condition, then if it's not Office? It's me. I decided to use the knowledge I received from the fruit that came from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. With the knowledge I received, I decided to use it to check Akeno's condition and predict what illness she has. I gave out a sigh of relief after verifying Akeno-san's condition. Then I sat down right next to my bed along with Office. This girl, isn't she the daughter of Barakiel? Office asked. Yes, she is, I said. Since you were leader of the Cows Brigade, I'm assuming you have information involving her childhood and such. Yes, I do. Office nodded. It's truly a tragic thing what happened to her. Not only did she witness the death of her mother, but she was kicked out from her clan and is on the run from persecution. She tried to survive on her own as a child by using her powers of purifying spirits all through Japan. This soon grabbed the attention of other clans and churches, and they soon came after her. But for her to be here. I shifted my gaze back at Akeno-san, who was sleeping peacefully on my bed. Do you think I just caused a butterfly effect for bringing her into my house? Office tilted her head. What do you mean? The butterfly effect is the sensitive dependency on initial conditions in which a small change at one place in a deterministic non-linear system can result in large differences in a later state. The butterfly effect is a common trope in fiction, especially in scenarios involving time travel. Additionally, works of fiction that involve points at which the storyline diverges during a seemingly minor event, resulting in a significantly different outcome than would have occurred without the divergence, are an example of the butterfly effect. I paused in surprise. I couldn't believe that I knew what a butterfly effect was. I didn't even know that the butterfly effect existed. Must have been the knowledge I received from eating the fruit. Can you use small words? Office put her hands on the top of her head and shook her head to the side, as if she was going to have a headache. Big words gives me a headache. Sure, sure. I said with a light chuckle. Seeing Office like this reminds me of a cute Psychic. I can even imagine her saying Psychic at this moment. Dee-ha-ha-ha-ha-ha-ha-ha. I started to laugh out loud uncontrollably as I think about Office saying Psychic. Heck, I ended up burying my face into a spare pillow I had in my face to keep myself quiet so Akeno-san could sleep. By the time I calmed down, I was panting. Ah, thanks Office. I needed that. I said, giving her my appreciation to lighten the mood. You're welcome. Office became more confused in a cute way that made me chuckle a bit more. So what about this butterfly effect applying to us? Oh yeah. I snapped my fingers as I remembered the conversation we had earlier. Well, the simplest way I can explain the butterfly effect is that if someone changes one minor thing in the past, it could have a major different outcome in the future. So you're saying that the future is going to be completely changed due to you saving this girl's life? Yes, I said, looking back at the sleeping Akeno-san. I just have this terrible foreboding feeling that I did cause a major change in the future. Even with all the knowledge in the world, there is no way I would know what the future holds. I completely changed the future now since I saw Akeno-san in the street. The more time Akeno-san sleeps here, the more of a chance that she might not encounter Rias. But I can't let her go on like this. There's no way I would allow Akeno-san wander in the streets all alone. There's just no way I would. Ice. Office placed her hand on my shoulder. It's going to be alright. I know you'll figure something out. I'm going back to bed now. Office left my room after that. I was alone with Akeno-san resting on my bed. I realized that I couldn't do anything but wait till Akeno-san gets better. I'm wide awake now and I have nothing to do till Akeno-san wakes up. Drake, are you there? Yes, partner. I'm here. Drake said as the boosted gear appeared on my left arm. I've seen and heard everything you said about the butterfly effect. And I have to say that you shouldn't worry too much. Though it's true that you might have altered this child's future, you at least rescued her from the street. I know Drake, I know. But encountering a Keno-san so soon has already altered the future. I don't know what to do. Calm down, partner. She's not in any life-threatening condition. As long as she stays in this house, she's safe. Again Drake, I know. But I can't help but feel useless. I need something to keep me occupied. Wait a minute. My past senpais. The last thing I heard from them is when they went to visit the past hacker Yuku of the Divine Dividing. I'm going to check and see if everything went well with the past senpais. I got myself in a zazen position and closed my eyes. I put all of my concentration into one thought and sync my consciousness into the sacred gear. I send my consciousness into the sacred gear with Drake's help. I swam through the darkness and entered the white space where my senpais are. By the time I reached the white space, I realized that I was in some sort of trench and there wasn't a single table in around. All of my senpais were dressed as military soldiers with hard hats on top of their heads and rifles in their hands. Ara? What's going on? Why do we look like we're in some war? Are these idiots doing some reenactment of some war of something? Hey, let's go. Fire. Before I could finish my sentence, a cannon and many rifles were fired and I swore I heard Albion Senpai's voice from behind giving the order of firearms to be fired. I turned around to see a pillbox with Albion Senpai, who is dressed in a general's outfit, standing on top of it. What the? Incoming. One of my senpais interrupted me again and this time, one of them jumped on me. I didn't understand what was going on till I heard a sound of something soaring in the sky. Kaboom, that was definitely the sound of an explosion that came from the sensitive bomb making an impact from the ground. Yup, if I have to assume this without using the knowledge from the fruit, I would have to say that we're definitely in a war. But who exactly are we fighting against in White World of the boosted gear? Tap, tap, I felt someone who was tapping my head. I looked up to see General Albion Senpai and one of my past senpais, who looks to be dressed as General. General Albion Senpai waved his hand to indicate me to follow him through the trenches. I followed Albion Senpai and the colonel dressed past Senpai 2 into the pillbox, which was oddly enough more spacious on the inside. I continued to follow Albion Senpai inside a room where looks like some sort of meeting room. Take a seat. I sat down one of the chairs while Albion Senpai take the biggest chair of the room. Well, it's been a while since we last saw you, Kohai. So what brings you here? I cleared my throat before I began speaking. What I had to say was very important. What the fuck is happening right here? Are you in a war or something? Why the hell are we at war in the first place? And who the hell are we facing? Ah well, Albion Senpai smiled bitterly as sweat drop came coming down his head. It all happened when we visited the past predecessors of the Divine Dividing. Why do I have a feeling this isn't going to have a happy ending? It happened a few days ago right after you visited us before we left to speak with my past predecessors. Albion Senpai began telling his tale. When we arrived to the past hacker Yukas, they were rather unpleasant. Unpleasant? Yes, unpleasant. You see, the strongest male and female were expecting to meet with Belzerd and Elsha, however. I can imagine the conversation between Albion Senpai and the rest of the past hacker Yuku as Albion Senpai explained what happened. I can see Albion Senpai being all blithely while the other past hacker Yuku acts all serious. What the hell is the meaning of this? Where is the strongest Sekiryuite couple, Belzerd and Elsha? Oh, they left the boosted gear. Huh? What do you mean they left the boosted gear? Oh, their conscience disappeared. Don't tell me if that bastard Issei Haidu had something to do with. Yup, of course he did. He's the one responsible for making them disappear in the first place. Whoa. Wait a second. Don't tell that we're at war with the past hacker Yuku because Belzerd and Elsha are gone and they're blaming me for it. Yeah, let's go with that. There was something that I wasn't buying from Albion Senpai when he said that. He averted his eyes away from me and spoke so dubiously. Albion Senpai, I looked at him with a half-eye stare that made Albion Senpai sweat more and feel more nervous. Alright. Using you as a scapegoat wasn't the full reason why we're at war with the past hacker Yukas. So what exactly happened then? Well, let's say we weren't on our best behavior. Not on your best behavior. What exactly happened when you guys visited the past hacker Yuku? Well, let's say the past hacker Yuku can't take a joke. Joke? How am I going to put this delicately? We fucking screwed up when we decided to talk about our past. Do I dare to ask? You rather not. Let's say that we're not proud of what we did in the past and when we tried to laugh it off, it didn't go well. Just great. This is great. I placed both of my hands on my face and slowly let them slide down my face. I should have suspected something bad was going to happen. Just how are you guys going to get yourself out of this? Oh, don't worry. Albion Senpai leaned his chair back and put his feet on the table. I've got a plan to win this war. A plan? I'm afraid to ask. Right before I mustered the strength to ask, a past senpai dressed as a scientist came into the room. We've done it. We finally done it. Albion Senpai stood back up after the scientist Senpai declared something ambiguous. So the TT bomb is finally completed then. TT bomb? What exactly is a TT bomb? The scientist Senpai nodded as Albion Senpai started to scream cheerfully. Yes. We can finally turn this around. We can finally win. Turn this around. Wait, are you losing? Everyone in the room became silent. Well, we're not exactly losing, but this is our last standing base. Albion Senpai confessed sheepishly. I'm appalled. I'm greatly appalled. I don't want to say. Albion Senpai continued to speak. Oh, don't worry though. We have our ace in the sleeve. Oh, don't tell me it's the TT bomb. What exactly is a TT bomb? Do you know how deadly is an atomic bomb? What, you built an atomic bomb? No. There is no way we have the technology to create a real atomic bomb in this realm. Albion Senpai said, calming my nerves. Instead we created a giant opie-shaped bomb that is even more deadlier than any atomic bomb. I'm terrified now. I'm too terrified to even speak at all. If the TT bomb is more deadlier than the atomic bomb, I don't want to imagine the damage it will cause. I don't want to know what the outcome of this war is if these Baka senpais use the TT bomb. I'll be going now. I said, getting out of my seat. Oh? Don't you want to see a demonstration of the TT bomb? Albion Senpai asked. No. I quickly refused. I'm fine. I'll come and check you guys later. You knew that there was a war between the past Seker Yuite and Hacker Yukas and you didn't tell me. I didn't want to give you grief if I told you that there was a war between the past predecessors of the boosted gear and divine dividing. I was back inside my bedroom after leaving the white realm of the boosted gear. It was morning and I was having a conversation with Drake about the war that the past senpais of both sacred gears are having. You shouldn't worry about it, the war between these idiots though. The past predecessors can't die by fighting each other. To be honest, I think they aren't even trying at all. Now that Drake mentioned it, I can imagine my past senpais not trying at all either. Maybe that's the reason why my past senpais are losing. It's not that they're terrible fighters at all. It's just that they're not even trying at all. If Drake was true, then what about the TT bomb? Is it really an actual bomb that is more deadlier than the atomic bomb? Doubt it. Maybe the TT bomb is nothing more but a giant water balloon. Yeah, you're probably right, Drake. I highly doubt that Albion Senpai and these Baka senpais would actually build a kaboom. There was loud explosion that came out from the boosted gear. It was so loud that it caused me to flinch. My left hand is shaking unruly that I can't stop it even if I tried using my right hand to hold it down. Yes. The TT bomb work. The enemy is treating. Victory is ours. I could hear Albion Senpai's voice inside of my head. Wait, don't tell me that the TT bomb was actually. No, it can't be. Even Drake is also stupefied about the truth of the TT bomb. I shivered in fright, not wanting to think more about the war that the past senpais are having. I let them handle it themselves. I heard a sound coming from bed. When I went to take a look, I see a sleepy eye Akeno-san raising her back off from the bed. Huh? Where am I? Akeno-san asked while rubbing one of her eyes. She looked around the room before laying her eyes right at me. Ah. It's you. Akeno-san exclaimed, pointing her index at me. Hi. I greeted her by waving my hand. I can't be here. Akeno-san shouted, making a troubled face. I need to leave before they. No, wait. I got on the bed before Akeno-san could take off the blanket on top of her lap. You don't have to worry about whoever is after you. I assured her. There is a barrier around the house to prevent anyone from sensing anyone's presence. And just to be safe, there is another barrier around this room. A barrier? Yes, a barrier. You don't have to worry about a single thing. As long you stay inside this house, nothing is going to harm you. But I can't. Growl. There was a loud growling sound coming from Akeno-san's belly. Ah. Akeno-san averted her eyes from mine as her face reddened slightly. Sorry. I let out small smile. Don't worry. I'll get something for you to eat. Why, you don't need to. Growl. Akeno-san's stomach growled again, interrupting what Akeno-san have to say for a second time. Again, it's fine. I said, while putting my hand on top of Akeno-san's head. Just stay here to get some rest. I'll go get you something good to eat. Why, yes. Akeno-san replied with an even redder face than before. Akeno-san laid herself back on the bed again and I properly tucked her before leaving the room to go downstairs to enter the kitchen. By the time I came back from the kitchen, I brought a tray filled with all the leftovers from last night's dinner and glass of apple juice. Here, I said while putting the tray down on Akeno-san's lap. It's all for you. For me? Akeno-san's eyes widen when she sees all the food on the tray. Do you really mean it? Well, it's leftovers from last night's dinner. I told her. I didn't know exactly what to bring, so I decided to give you this. If you want to eat something else, I can go back downstairs. No. Akeno-san declined. Her eyes were getting watery again, but it isn't out of sadness. She was crying out of joy. This will do. Akeno-san picked up the chopsticks on the tray and clapped her hands. She said her thanks before starting to munch down on the leftovers. Delicious. Akeno-san let out a bright expression after taking the first bite of eating the leftovers. Akeno-san then continued to scarf down on the rest of the leftovers like there was no tomorrow. I had to pat Akeno-san's back when she nearly choked just for eating too fast. Akeno-san finished her meal by chugging down the rest of the apple juice. Akeno-san let out a smile of relief and patted her stomach. She let out a loud belch soon after. Akeno-san said, "Excuse me," with a red face, and then the room went into an awkward silence. I wasn't sure what to talk about with Akeno-san now. I don't want to bring up her past since it might bring up some unpleasant memories. I thought we're going to say in awkward silence till Akeno-san started speak up. "So you're part dragon, huh?" Akeno-san brought up what I said to her the night before. I told her that I was part dragon and such. Akeno-san is even looking at my left hand. Oh yeah, I summoned the boosted gear back on my left hand and showed it to Akeno-san. "Ara. Doesn't this look like a dragon's armor?" Akeno-san said after examining it. "Is it some sort of sacred gear?" "It is," I said, turning my boosted gear back to my original arm. "Despite being born human, my sacred gear gives my dragon traits." "Dragon traits?" Akeno-san titled her head in confusion. "How do you know that you have dragon traits if you have a sacred gear?" I smiled bitterly. "Let's say I've experienced the pain of a dragon slayer first-handed." Everything was quiet once again. Unlike last time, the awkward silence wasn't so peaceful like it was the first time. And just like last time, Akeno-san broke the silence by asking another question. "What's your name?" "My name?" "Ah." I quickly recalled that I haven't told Akeno-san my name yet. "Oh, my name is Issei Haidu." I introduced myself with a light blush on my face. "But everyone call me Ice." "Ice-kun." Akeno-san muttered my name softly. She then made a gentle smile. "Nice to meet you, Ice-kun." Akeno-san. I became mesmerized of Akeno-san's smile. It reminded me of the smile she gave out when she acts her age. "Ice-kun? Ice-kun. Earth to Ice-kun." I snapped out of my train of thought when Akeno-san called my name. You became very quiet all of a sudden." Akeno-san pointed out. I got worried for a moment. Sorry," I apologized. "I was thinking of something." "It's alright." Akeno-san said. "Just what were you thinking?" "Eh? Well, I'm starting to feel a bit flush as I was too nervous to confess the truth." I ended up rubbing the back of my neck and averting my eyes away from Akeno-san's. "Ice-kun? What's wrong?" Akeno-san noticed how uneasy I am. "I am fine." I told her, trying my best to keep a straight face. "Are you sure? You seem to be a bit red." Akeno-san tried to approach me, but I backed away. I forgot that I was on my bed and fell off from it. "Whoa." I said before hitting the ground. "Ice-kun? Are you okay?" "I'm fine." I told Akeno-san while sounding a bit dizzy. It was the day of the summer festival here in Kuo town. It was a starry night with a lovely full moon and not a single cloud in the lovely sky. When Akeno-san, office, and I arrived to the festival, the area that held the festival was greatly decorated into the typical Japanese festival. The festival was lit up by the colorful paper lanterns hanging on up high on the booth. There were multiple booths that had many fun games and have many delicious food. There are some that sell interesting souvenirs. "Ice-kun, look." I turned to Akeno-san, who dressed in a lovely pink kimono, who was greatly intrigued at booth. I followed her to the booth, where it held a game of trying to catch a goldfish with small breakable nets. "Do you want to catch one?" I asked. "Yes." Akeno-san said with sparkling eyes. I pulled out 2 500 yen coins from my pocket and gave it to the booth owner. The owner passed both Akeno-san and I tiny nets to catch the goldfish. Akeno-san rushed in and tried to catch one of the goldfish, but the goldfish broke through the net. It broke. Akeno-san puffed her cheeks in disappointment. "Here, let me show you how you do it right." I slowly scooped up the first goldfish I saw with ease. Akeno-san became shocked on how well I was able to catch the fish in one try. "How did you do it, Ice-kun?" Akeno-san asked while I get my goldfish in a plastic bag. "Oh, it's easy." I told her. I pulled out another 500 yen coin and passed it to the booth owner. The booth owner gave me another tiny net to catch goldfish. "Here. Let me teach you how to do it properly." I passed the net to Akeno-san. I carefully moved Akeno-san's hand which hid the net to the water of goldfish. "Go nice and slow." "Nice and slow." Akeno-san repeated my last 3 words. I let go of her hand and watched Akeno-san scooped up a goldfish very gentle-like. When Akeno-san seized the goldfish in her net, she jumped joy. Look, Ice-kun. I did it. I caught a goldfish." "Did you see it?" "I caught one." "Yeah, I saw." I nodded. "Congratulations, Akeno-san, you did it." "Yufufufu, I was able to get one thanks to Ice-kun." Akeno-san giggled as she gave me compliment. Ah, don't mention. I grinned. Come, let's go play some more games. Akeno-san grabbed my hand and started to drag me to another game booth. Flashback, so you really can't stay here? I asked. No, I can't, Akeno-san refused. There is a devil who runs this neighborhood as their own territory, and my family, along with many others, who are persecuting me. If they find me with you, I fear that they'll kill you for sheltering me. It was nighttime when I had a conversation with Akeno-san about her predicament on the bed. I offered Akeno-san place to stay, but she declined. I'm trying everything I could to persuade Akeno-san to change her mind, but she's keeping refusing me with logical reasons like her family or my neighborhood being the territory of a devil. We both know that if either one of them find out that I've been sheltering Akeno-san for all this time, we'll both suffer the price. I was about to tell her about Office, but if I bring Office into this, there might lead to more problems than necessary. I'll keep her as a backup plan if there is trouble involving the devil of this territory, her family, or even both. Crap. I can't find a way to persuade Akeno-san to stay. The priest can come any minute now to Kuo Town, and I have no idea who the devil in charge of this territory is. I've tried to convince Akeno-san I'm willing to protect her at all cost, but she doesn't fully believe I'm capable to do it. Shit. Greg told me that since I no longer possess my evil pieces, I can't access the illegal move Trine or my true queen. And since I was already weak as it is as a human, I can't use my original scale mail. I clenched my hands into a fist out of frustration. I hate feeling so useless like this. I swore to Azazel-sensei that I'll protect Akeno-san, yet. Ice-kun Akeno-san grabbed my hand and interlocked her fingers with mine. I promise you that I'll be alright on my own. I've been living on the streets for a year now. I'm a lot stronger than I look. I believe Akeno-san, I really do. I know that Akeno-san can't survive this on her own, but I can't allow go on like this. She deserved to live in a home where filled love and affection, not in the streets where with cruel and dark. How about I run away with you? I suggested. We could travel all through Japan together. No, Ice-kun. Akeno-san shook her head to her side. Your parents will worried about you, and this will give my clan even more reason to hunt me down. Akeno-san is right. If they finds out that I traveled along with a fallen angel with her, they'll quickly assume that Akeno-san brainwashed me into doing so. You're Akeno-san, I admitted the biggest flaw in my plan. It's just that I can't stand you being out there all alone. It's alright, Akeno-san assured me. I know how to survive out there on my own. It's going to be alright. I've more than enough money saved up to eat. There was a time where Akeno-san spoke to me in my past life. It was some time after the incident with evil god Loki. She spoke to me about her past as a homeless child. She told me a small part of it, but it was the most important part I've heard. It was the money she received for exorcising spirits. She received very little money for doing her job. And with the little money she had, she saved it. Saved it for a present for her mother's birthday present. She did her best not to spend a single cent of the money she received just for her deceased mother. Ice-kun. I let out some air before I spoke up the truth. Akeno-san, I know by fact that you don't have much money with you and you're not using it for yourself. I know you're saving the money for a gift for your mother. Akeno-san's eyes widen in surprise, but soon revert back to normal. She didn't seem fazed or appalled. Instead she was giving off her typical one-cent smile usually gave out during school. Are you some sort of mind reader? She asked playful. Well, kind of. I told her, waving my hand in a more or less gesture. Let's say I read thoughts of a certain part of the body. Oh, what's that? The heart. Yeah, let's go with that. I was too ashamed to tell the young Akeno-san the truth about how I can read breast. It seems she has her full trust in me, and I don't want to ruin it if I told her the truth. So you know that I've saved up the money for my mother's present. Don't tell me you're going to make me spend on myself. No. I said my honest feeling. As much I want you to use the money to feed yourself, I'll respect your decision how you want to spend it. Akeno-san seemed to be astonished to what I just said. You mean it? You don't think that using my money on my mother is a bad thing? Akeno-san's eyes sparkled when she asked it. I shook my head. No, I don't think so. I think that saving it for your mother is a good thing. It shows that you still love her. Akeno-san. When I looked to Akeno-san, her eyes were getting watery. When I spoke to others why I don't use my money, they mocked me for not using money for myself and thought that using my money for a present for my dead mother was stupid. Akeno-san sniffed and wiped the water in her eyes. Well, it's not that I support the idea of you saving up your money for your mother or anything, I confessed my honest feelings. But it's your money and you should spend it the way you liked it. So what are you planning to buy with the money anyway? Oh, I know. Akeno-san snapped her fingers as she realized what kind of gift she wanted to get her mother. I just want to get my mom a very nice present like a locket or necklace. Well, let's see how much you have right now. I said. Alright. Akeno-san created a small magic circle on her palm and multiple tiny onis came out. Wait, I seen these onis before. These honest are her familiar. They're Akeno-san's familiar. I remembered seeing these guys before back in the club room. Hey, there is one of them holding a small purse. That small Oni gave Akeno-san the purse. Let's see here. Akeno-san opened the purse and took out some cash out. We both counted the money together and realized that Akeno-san only had a few thousand yen. Akeno-san, do you really think you can achieve your goal of obtaining something nice like an authentic necklace or locket? I asked, passing the money back I had in my hand back to her. I know it's little much, but I'll eventually get enough money before my mother's birthday. Akeno-san told me. Oh, when is that? I asked. In a few days, Akeno-san sheepishly, having her eyes looking away from mine. I failed to get her a present last year since I had too little money. I promised myself that I'll save up enough money to buy something nice for her next year. Akeno-san, I know that Akeno-san doesn't have much money on her and she doesn't want to spend it on no one but her mother. But I can't support Akeno-san torturing herself like this. I don't want her to use the money she earned for her mother. However, I don't want to force Akeno-san on how she should use her money. If there was a way I could help Akeno-san get her gift for her mother's birthday without her using her money. Right before I could say anything, there was a piece of paper slid down the door. It was a flyer that contained the information about the summer festival that is coming soon to Kuo Town. I got off the bed and picked up the flyer. I slowly read the flyer and my eyes opened wide when I realized what the flyer was about. Akeno-san. Look at this. I got back on the bed and passed the flyer to Akeno-san. Summer festival. Akeno-san read the flyer's title out loud. What is this about? Look down here. I said, pointing my finger at the article. There's going to a raffle in the festival. And look at the prizes. Prizes? Akeno-san looked at the article and her eyes widened as well when she noticed the prize. One of their prizes is a golden heart locket. Do you know what this means, Akeno-san? I asked. This means we could try to win the golden locket by entering the raffle at the festival. We can get the present for your mother. Hey, you want to help me get a present for my mother? Akeno-san became dazed that she seemed too speechless to speak anymore. Of course. I said, grabbing Akeno-san's hand. If we win the locket at the festival, then you can get a birthday present for your mother this year and you don't have to feel guilty for using the money for yourself. Flashback over. It seems that I was able to convince Akeno-san at the end. I was able to get Akeno-san to stay in my house for a bit longer and make her agree to use the money for herself if we can win the locket in the raffle at the festival. Later that night I learned that it was Office who slipped the flyer into my room. She was the only one who knows about the barrier in my room and she overheard the conversation I had with Akeno-san. I asked her why did she decided to help Akeno-san with her mother's birthday present and she told me Ice was worried about the fallen angel girl. I want to do something to help. I was glad Office came to help. Thanks to her, I was able to get a reasonable agreement with Akeno-san. I'm glad that I was able to talk Akeno-san into staying in my house a bit longer, but I still don't want her to live on the streets anymore. I don't know what will happen to Akeno-san's future now since I saved her from the street. Will she meet Rias in time before her family catches up? Or will Akeno-san live her life like a homeless child? Look, Ice-kun. I snapped out of my train of thought when Akeno-san called my name. I turned to her, where I see Akeno-san wearing a Japanese's fox mask on her face. Did I scare you, Ice-kun? Akeno-san asked playfully. I cracked a grin. Nah, you look kind of cute with the mask, though you look a lot cuter without the mask. Really? Akeno-san took off the mask to show a lightly reddened face. She seemed to be very bashful. Do you think I'm cute? Oh shoot. I didn't realize what I just said till now. I need to say something to Akeno-san or else this might be very awkward between the two of us. Why yes, I said, looking down at the ground with a red face. I think you're pretty cute. Ice-kun. Ah crap. There is another awkward silence between the two of us. I really wished I could break the silence again, but I can't muster any courage and I haven't heard a single word from Akeno-san. I wasn't sure how long I was able to take the single silence till. I have found you. There was a single low voice of a man. The cursed daughter born from our Himejima bloodline. From behind the trees, a child that carries the blood of that black angel. Several mountaineering ascetics wearing sedge-woven hat who are carrying staff appears. It has been a while, Akeno. The voice with dignity said that to Akeno-san. Akeno-san appeared to be familiar with that voice as she tenses up. The mountaineering ascetics make a path and the one who appears in front of us is man who has passed his middle age. He takes his sedge-woven hat off and looks at us. His eyes are filled with sadness. Granduncle. Was the only words that Akeno-san was able to say. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.